Now, I'm going to show you a clip of Bill Cosby's documentary, Black History, Lost, Stolen, or Strayed. He's going to read from a book and he disagrees with the passages that he reads. Now, bear in mind, slave owners were business owners. I keep on asking people this question and they don't want to answer it because they know I'm referring to slavery. If you were a business owner, would you purposely damage and destroy your property? I know I wouldn't. Every time I ask this question, they just ignore it. They just don't come back with anything because they know that they wouldn't do that. There were some slave owners that did, yes. They attacked slaves, yes. But most did not. And the slave owners did admit this. They did admit that, yes, there are some slave owners that are doing this. We are dealing with it. But overall, we don't do that because it's a bad business model. Because it's counterproductive to a good business. But if you want to demonize somebody or something, all you're going to focus on is the negative, and that's what the abolitionists did. Let me put this into perspective. Let's say I had a business, right? Like a restaurant. And I had to clean the toaster oven every morning. Every morning I have to clean the toaster oven. One morning I get so pissed off and I take a bat and I bash in the toaster oven. Well, now I have to get a new toaster oven, right? And let's say I do this minimum 10 times a year. And bear in mind, I also have other property in my business that I use my bat on. Well, I'm an idiot, right? I'm an idiot because I'm ruining my business. But apparently this is what slave owners were doing constantly. And bear in mind, this property can't come up and attack me later. Okay? So history is a set of lies agreed upon. And it seems everybody agreed upon the abolitionist lies. A good chunk of these abolitionists thought that black people didn't amount to anything in history, were uncivilized and inferior to Caucasians. People with that kind of attitude, I'm not going to believe practically anything that they say because they're clearly biased.
Blacks who made it, blacks who made history, but who didn't get into the history text at all. And the strange thing is how little there is about us in the textbooks. Napoleon once said history is a fable agreed upon, and the fable agreed upon up to now is that American history is white on white. But sometimes we did get into the history books. All wrong. Now you take this one. The Growth of the American Republic, 1942 edition. Samuel Eliot Morrison, Henry Steele Commager. Quote, as for. This has to do with slavery. As for Sambo, Professor Morrison. Sambo, Professor Commager. As for Sambo, whose wrongs moved the abolitionists to wrath and tears, there is some reason to believe that he suffered less than any other class in the South from its peculiar institution. Peculiar institution means slavery. Although brought to America by force, the incurably optimistic Negro soon became attached to the country and devoted to his white folks. Unquote. Those lines were written by two Pulitzer Prize-winning white Northern professors.
Now, I have some problems with other things in this documentary, but this one stood out the most. Now, Northerners had a bad attitude towards black people. Cannot be denied, they had a bad attitude towards black people. These are the same people that wanted the Western territories to be all white and all free. They didn't want black people there at all because they couldn't stand black people in the North. So when the author said slaves suffered less than any other class in the South, that was accurate because they were property. Property is valuable. What don't people understand about that? If not, if property is not valuable, then let somebody damage your property and let's see how you're going to react. So the reasons why Northerners called it a peculiar institution is because black people were treated a lot better in the South than the North, which is peculiar, right? What is also fascinating about the South is that there were so many mulattoes. Now, if there's so many mulattoes, that means that Negroes and Caucasians were really getting along with each other, which Northerners hated. What a peculiar institution. Bear in mind, Slavery lasted for hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of years way before America. So there had to be something good about it, but we just ignore that and focus on the bad. Not that we shouldn't, but don't get so indoctrinated where you lose all common sense. It did have its problems, but the abolitionists are exaggerating about those problems. It's like if the media made it seem that all police officers are attacking black people. Well, that's not the case, right? But the media can make it seem that way, and that's exactly what the abolitionists did with slavery. Just ask anyone. If you were a business owner, would you purposely damage or destroy your property?